Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be an English version of installing Docker in our Ubuntu virtual machine. I have already created the video for installing Docker in your Ubuntu virtual machine in Hindi. So do check out that video. The link would be in the description box. Now, let me walk you through the step, and I'm going to do everything in my Ubuntu virtual machine that is created on my Mac OS. So if you are Windows user, probably that would be another video. Let me talk you about why do we need Docker in the first place. Well, definitely you know that eventually we are going to create Docker image and then learn Docker skill by creating container and everything. And when you start working on that, you shouldn't need Docker in your machine. And definitely you can get the Docker desktop through downloading, for like you can download that from the website, right? But what if I want to run everything through the terminal? Then definitely you need Docker in your terminal. So right now I'm in my Ubuntu virtual machine. Let me get into it. Okay, so the first thing I'll show you that this one has Ubuntu and the code name is Jamie. There are so many other releases. Right now I'm running Ubuntu 22.04, release 22.04, and the code name is Jamie. I'm going to take the help of ChatGPT so that we can stick to one of our guru, or you can say one of the Google search that will help us understand how to really download the Docker in our Ubuntu virtual machine. So you can follow along with me as well. So right now, if I go to my ChatGPT and I simply type how to download Docker in Ubuntu, it simply gave me all the steps. We are going to follow the step, but we want to make sure that we understand each step as well. Don't worry, if you are new to ChatGPT, please just follow me with the steps I'm doing in my Ubuntu virtual machine. So the first step is we need to update our package repository. So you don't need to look at the ChatGPT solution. I will walk you through that, and I'll simply doing everything on my Ubuntu virtual machine. And if there is something that you need to look into the Chrome in my ChatGPT tab, then I'll simply show you that too. So as mentioned above, that the first step is to update our package repository. So we will use the admin privilege. So as a super doer or sudoers, I'll use the sudo command. Then apt is the package manager tool in Ubuntu, where this will help you to manage all your packages. You can delete them, you can install them, everything through apt command. So right now we are going to update our packages. So let's just simply say sudo apt update. And once we hit update, see, it is going to take all the latest releases for my package, that is for my operating system or distro, that is Ubuntu. Okay, it says everything is update. Well, there are 57 packages that can be upgraded to. So let's do that too. Sudo apt upgrade. Okay, perfect. It asks me to continue. I'll say yes. Okay, so it is doing its work. Make sure you also upgrade your packages. It is always a good practice. And to let you know that I just created this Ubuntu virtual machine to learn Docker so that I will have everything fresh, nothing, no any other packages, no other dependency or nothing from previous machine. So bear with me if I need to update everything. So let me pause the video, and oh, it's almost done. Meanwhile, I would like to tell you that in my video where I have explained everything in Hindi, I have shown you how I am really documenting everything. Let me show you right now. So see, this is my Jira software where I have documented everything. I created one project that says install Docker in Ubuntu, and whatever steps I am going to run right now, I have made them as a task. All of these are tasks, and in each task, whatever we have learned or researched, we made sure that we document that, we write down that. So do check the video if you know Hindi. That will help you to basically do all of these steps in your end too. It's really useful. So, well, it is still under progress. Meanwhile, I can tell you that first we update all the packages that we are doing right now. Second thing is that we are going to install all the required packages. So for the Docker, we need to have at least 4 packages if you do not have yet. The first package is app transport HTTPS. What does it do? So I have already written that if you are looking in forward to, like, in terms of the context of Docker, well, whenever we download anything from online over the internet, say repository or packages or software, apt transport basically makes sure that whatever you are handling, any connection through HTTPS has to be secure. So in simple word, apt transport HTTPS helps in getting a secure communication or connection with the any software packages or repository over the internet. So we will download that too. The next thing we will download is that CA certificate. Again, it has the same purpose, in other words, but it is mainly devoted to all the trusted keys. So whenever we download anything over the internet, we need some kind of a key, and you need to keep that key in your device or in your Ubuntu virtual machine somewhere, and that can be managed only through CA certificate. You will see that we will download this trusted key as well for our Docker. So for that we need CA certificate. Next thing is curl. Again, if you want to download any files right from the internet, the curl is one of the useful command tool that will help to manage those. So you will probably using curl to download the Docker installation script, in other words. So curl will be needed. And the last one is that software properties common. See, as I mentioned here already, that whenever we want to add Docker repository, or if you want to manage the repository, software properties common helps you with that. Okay, and it also says that if you manage repository, for example, if you want to add any repository, you will use add app repository, right? So that software property common generally helps you to do that in much easier way. Well, that's so deep. We don't want to get into these dependency, right, or packages. We simply download them for now. So let's get into my Ubuntu virtual machine. It is almost done. Here you can see it has been upgraded. Now I'll clear that. So the next step, as I previously explained, we need to install all the packages. Those are required before downloading Docker. Since we want to download, we will use the command sudo apt install, and we can get one package at a time, but rather I want to get all the packages in one go, so I can name them package 1, package 2, package 3, package 4. So the first package is apt transport HTTPS. The next one was curl. The next one is I have to check definitely. So the next one is CA certificate. Oops. Okay, so the next one is CA certificate, and the last one is software properties common. After hitting enter, okay, I want it to continue. Okay, it's almost done. Perfect. If you want to check if those packages are installed or not, you can use the command dpkg with the option of L. So minus L. And then I can use the grep command to check each of them. For example, I want to check whether curl is there or not. So I'll use the grep command. As you can see, yes, we have successfully downloaded the curl command, and this is AMD64 because our system architecture is AMD64. Similarly, you can check CS certificate. There you go. It is also. Similarly, you can check apt transport, HTTPS. There you go. See, it's clearly give you the whole description that it is a transitional package for HTTPS support. Perfect. The next step as per our ChatGPT is that we want to add Docker repository in our system. Now, before that, we want to add GPG key. As if you really wanna download anything from the internet and you want it to be a trusted, right? You want it to be a trust, like downloading from trusted source. It does not need to be tampered. Otherwise, if it is tampered, then you can get virus, for example, or your system can be hacked if you download anything from untrusted sources. So for that, first we need to get a GPG key, right? So the GPG key does what? Is basically validate whether you're downloading from trusted sources or not. So the third very important step is to download that GPG key. Now, you might be wondering what is GPG key in other words. Let's assume that when you are downloading Ubuntu virtual machine, when you're downloading Ubuntu in your machine, you wanted to make sure that you're downloading from the trusted source. Well, you went to the website and you downloaded it. But could you recheck that did you download the key as well with it? That is basically authenticating, because every time you get the update, for example, when we run the update option, it again communicated with the website, right, from where you get the Ubuntu operating system or distro. So now what it will do is that our Ubuntu right now will have a key that will help you to validate that every time you are updating from the internet, it always getting all the updated files from the secure trusted sources. So we should have a Ubuntu GPG key. You want to check? Let's check it out. To go about that, type apt key. So this command basically help you to manage all the GPG key. So I'll say sudo apt key, and then you can type list. And now you can see that, yes, there is a Ubuntu keyring for CDI image, right? And it is available in this location. Similarly, you have this one as well. There is a fingerprint, and it says that what kind of it is. It is Ubuntu Archive automatic signing key. So these are the key. If you want to see like what's the key ID, you can also see that. You can use GPG and then you will say import, right? This option will help you to get the key ID for that. So suppose this is the file. I want to get the key ID. I'll simply paste the location so that it can access this file. This is the file where our key is located. So let's hit enter, and you can see this is the key ID. So every time when you run update, right, this key is used to basically authenticate that whatever you are downloading from Ubuntu repository or distribution from the vendor, it is always getting its all packages from a trusted sources. Similarly, if you understand this concept, then similarly we need to get the GPG key for our Docker repository, because we are going to download everything from Docker repository. and that's over the internet for sure. So you need GPG key. Okay, enough. Let's really download the GPG key. I'll clear the screen. So to download any file from the internet, we need to use curl command. And after that, you can give the URL from where you are downloading the file. So I'm downloading it, https download.docker.com. So this is basically a website link from where you are getting all the content, right? You're downloading, so it is download.docker.com. It does exist, you can Google it. And in that, I will select Linux, Ubuntu, and then GPG, right? So basically, since I am in Ubuntu virtual machine, that's why I'm choosing Ubuntu. If you are using any other, so then you should select any other. If you want to look at that, I will definitely walk you through that link. So I selected Ubuntu GPG. So this is one of the files that will be downloaded in my current repository. But I do not want that to be in my current repository, current directory. Rather, I want to store it somewhere, right? So once you download it, you want to store it somewhere. So the result of this command is that it will download in my current directory, that is in my home directory, but I do not want that. Rather, whatever is the output of this, I want it to become the input of some other command. So in that other command, what we will do is that we will convert that file. Right now, whatever file we will download will be in a binary format. If you download GPG key, it will be in a binary format. But I want to store this in our, say, one of the location. For example, etc apt trusted.gpg, where I showed you that Ubuntu keyring are available. You can store over there with some file name, but it should be in a text format. It doesn't make sense? Let's do it. So I'll use the command sudo gpg because I need admin privilege. I'll use the command gpg that will help me to convert binary into text. For that, we need a command drmod. So this will basically convert the file, this file, from binary into text format. And then I want to store it in some form of file format, right? So we will use output. -o is output. Now I will give you the location basically where we are going to store it. So we will say etc apt trusted, as I mentioned you already. Okay, over here we are going to store, and let's give it a name. Say Docker archive keyring, right? Let's give it a name and then GPG format, right? Once I hit enter, you will see that yes, it has been successfully downloaded. So now, would you like to check the keyring that you the GPG key that you downloaded? Let's check this out. So now I'm going to run apt key list again, and you can see that now it is available over here. Perfect, because I chose this location to be the one for my Docker release key. See? Now, would you like to know what's the key ID? Well, as I mentioned you before, the same option, GPG import, and you simply copy the path and paste it and hit enter. You can see this is the key ID. This is the public key ID for Docker release, right? Perfect. So now we have downloaded the Docker key and Docker GPG key, and we have stored it in our this location. Next task is to basically, we want to download or add Docker repository in our own system. Now you're thinking, why do we need to have it in our own system? The question is convenience or ease of accessing all the files. We can definitely interact over internet and get everything from the online repository every time. But rather than, there is an ease if we can add Docker to our repository. In simple word, say I'll show you the steps what I did. So here you can see that we did this thing. Okay, so adding the Docker repository to your system is a crucial step for accessing all the official, up-to-date and secure Docker packages. So it provides a convenient and reliable way to install and manage Docker component on your system while ensuring authenticity and integrity of the software you downloaded, right? So we want to download the all packages, or you can say the Docker repository in your Ubuntu virtual machine, and that generally always covered in here, etc apt sources.list.d, and you can give it a name like docker.list, which will exactly cover or include all the Docker repository files. So we are going to create a file named docker.list first, but it should be always here in this location. So let's go into this location and check if there is something over there. So if I go back to the Ubuntu virtual machine, so we are going to cd etc apt and then sources list. Here you can say there is nothing, but we want to create a file called, and I'm gonna directly use nano editor to edit it so that we can add whatever we want to. So sudo docker dot list. Perfect. Now to get the all repository files over here in this one file, we are going to use deb command. What does deb does? Basically, it specify what kind of a, well, let me walk you through documentation. When I show you, that would be much easier to understand. See, whenever we want to add or manage Docker repository, we need to use this deb, and in the deb we will mention what kind of architecture. Well, deb is used for all the binary files, and since we are downloading AMD 64, right, so we will use architecture AMD 64, and then we want to make sure that we download using our digital key. So basically before downloading, we want to make sure that it has been digitally signed, right, or validated through our key ID. So we will say signed by, and then we will give the location of our key ring. In our case, it's etc apt trusted.gpg.d and then docker key ring. After that, once it is done, after that we will give the location from where we are downloading all the Docker repository. We are downloading everything from this one, right, download.docker.com Linux Ubuntu, and we want to make sure that we give the version of our Ubuntu, that is Jammy and stable. So this will add the Docker repository configuration to this docker.list. Okay, let's go into that download.docker.com. See, first it asks which kind of a machine you are using. I'm using Linux. Next, it asks you what kind of a distribution you are using. I'm using Ubuntu. Next, in Ubuntu, what you are using. I'm using Jammy, right? And in the Jammy, we are using stable. And here you can see that we have binary contents, those two files. So we use deb so that we can get this binary AMD64. And if I hit enter, you can see all the packages over here, right? So this is all the packages that is related to Docker. These are the configuration file that is related to Docker. So we want to download this, and we want to keep this in one file that is called docker.list. Now you understand why do we need docker.list, because that docker.list will contain all of this file, and we want to make sure that whenever we are downloading this, it should be authenticated. So that's why we use GPG key. And to use GPG key, we will write this line. Okay, if you understand a little bit of it, let's directly do it in our Ubuntu virtual machine. So I'll go to Ubuntu. So we want to write deb because we are downloading binary configuration file. So I'll use square bracket deb. In this, I'll mention the architecture, and I already showed you that binary AMD 64. So arc equal to AMD 64. And the next one, I want to make sure that it is signed by. So signed by, what's the location for our file? Well, you might have forgotten that. No worries. Let's directly go into that again. So we are in etc apt, and here you can see that we have this file where we have kept our Docker GPG key. So let's go into that cd trusted, and you can see that this is our file. So we want this file, right? So first I'll say pwd so that I can get easily the path. I'll copy that and I go there and I'll simply paste this. Okay, and then I'll go again and simply copy the name of the file. So this is the name of the file that contains the key. Okay, and I'll simply put this and paste the name of the file. Well, this is done. Next, I will give the URL of the link of the Docker repository. So that is https download.docker.com and then /linux/ubuntu, and then I'll give you the name of the Ubuntu that I'm using, that is Jammy and stable. Well, that is all. So you simply Control X and hit yes and just save it. Perfect. This is done. So if you want to know like what I wrote there, you can do one sudo cat and then docker list. So this is what I wrote over there. Perfect. If you didn't get it in the first place, do write it now. Write it down. Okay. So this is what I wrote down over there, and I simply go out of it. So if this is done, it means you have added repository, Docker repository. Not yet. For that, you have to run the sudo apt update, and what it will do is that it will basically contact this link and download the Docker repository, and you will see that when we run update, it will try to contact this and it will download all the copies and put in the docker.list. Well, let's run it. See, as I mentioned you, here, so all the packages, AMD 64 packages have been downloaded and it is successfully done. It is asking me to upgrade 2 packages. Let's run it. Sudo apt upgrade. Okay, perfect. There is nothing to upgrade anymore, and I can go to home directory. Okay, we are now in home directory. Well, till now we have added the Docker repository as well. Finally, we are going to install Docker. Now to download the Docker as per the step, we can download a Docker CE simply. Well, Docker CE is community edition if I'm not wrong, and the name would be different in different distribution. Probably it would be docker.io, but I am going to download Docker CE, and with the Docker CE I will download other 2 packages as well, that is CLI. Well, I'm not going to use the CLI definitely, but still I'm going to download it. Probably in future we will need that. And the next one I will need containerd.io to manage and run containers. So And although this does not give me right now, but when I was dealing the same thing in Hindi, I gave the option and downloaded all these three things. So the Docker CE, this is the name of the package, that is Docker package that provide Docker engine. And you do know, and you should know that, or if you know, then in future we will know that Docker engine is one of the core component of the Docker. Then Docker CE/CLI, definitely, it's a command line interface. For example, like Ubuntu, this terminal, it's a command line interface. So similarly, first we will download Docker CE, and then we'll download the command line interface. And then finally we download container d.io. It is a core container runtime that Docker uses, right? So what does it do? It manages container lifecycle, including to start the container, stop the container, execute the container, or even you can delete the container. So it seems like we can download all these three packages, right? So let's do it right now. Now you might be wondering, wow, this is something extra. Well, I did that while I was explaining and documenting in Hindi, and I really like this, but I want to make concise and to the point in my English version. So that's why I'm not doing all of this documentation thing. Let me know if you like it. So going back to the Ubuntu virtual machine, and let's download Docker. So sudo apt install, and then Docker CE, and then Docker CE CLI, and then finally we will need container d.io and hit enter. And yes, I want to continue. Perfect. So now what is happening is that it is using the Docker repository that we added into our system, and you can see that, see. So now it is much easier for it to download the Docker from there, and it is unpacking Docker CE. Well, while it is happening, it's gonna take a little bit of time if I'm not wrong. Let's go to our next step. So once we install the Docker, right? So Docker is a kind of a service that has to be started. It does not automatically start. We have to start it, and we will enable it so that it can be used. And eventually we will check the status whether it is running or not. That is the final step to make sure that you successfully started the Docker in your system. Now Docker is kind of a service, and you can check anything about system service using one of the command, that is systemctl. So you can see that it has been downloaded. Now you want to use systemctl, right? So sudo systemctl, and using that command you can check the status of a Docker right now. Well, it is actively running. That's great. Sometimes it says failed, right? Well, it directly started. Otherwise, if it doesn't start, then what would you do is that systemctl start Docker. You will write this. It doesn't give you anything. It means it didn't work. And then you will write sudo systemctl enable Docker, and then it says it's executing. Well, it does its work, and then finally you run systemctl status Docker, and now active running. Well, sometimes it does not give you active running. That's why I ran those two steps, because when I was dealing in Hindi, it gave me that no, it failed. So I have to start it and then enable it, and then it gave me that it is actively running, and it gave you that this is a Docker application container engine, right? And all the Docker daemon, see, Docker daemon is running over there. Perfect. Next thing, you can also check the Docker version that you have downloaded. So for that, you run the command docker version, and you can see that you are using Docker 24.0.6. So the whole purpose of this video is successfully install Docker in your Ubuntu virtual machine using terminal. If you really like this video, please do share your comment and feedback, and let me know that if you want the documentation like I have done here for the Hindi video. And if you really like that, I will definitely try to make all the future video with this kind of a documentation, because as a beginner we really want to document everything that we are learning. It will take time. Also, do share in the comment that if you face any issue, we will try to troubleshoot that, and I will make sure that I'll help you to download Docker in your Ubuntu virtual machine. If you are interested in how can we do the Docker desktop installation, I will help you with that. And if you have any question regarding what are the concept of GPG key, or how can we download GPG key, and if you are stuck in downloading GPG key, because most of us are generally stuck in downloading GPG key, I'll help you with that. Because sometime if you check some other videos, they will say that you can download and put it here, you can put it there. It's up to you. Well, you can follow my step or their step. So again, I hope you really like it. Do check out my other playlist and give your wonderful feedback, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.